You join the military and you're hearing all these people in the military talking about the TSP. What the fuck is that? If you're new to this channel, make sure you hit that subscribe button. Don't forget about that little bell so you're getting the notifications when we post some videos. And in the comments below, let us know if you've ever heard of the TSP.
All right, so you got to be either in the military or some kind of government agency in order to use the TSP, which means the Thrift Savings Plan. So in this video, you're going to learn about how to actually go in and set up your contributions for your TSP through your MyPay account if you're in the military. Then we're going to talk about how to go in to the TSP website and adjust your allocations for what kind of funds you want your contributions to go towards. And then we're going to tell you what those funds are. We're going to cover that. And then towards the end, we're going to cover the difference between Roth and traditional investment types.
Did anybody else just get confused by all the words he just said? Don't worry, we're going to go through it all and let you guys know what it all means. If you guys didn't know, we're both in the National Guard. We have been for a very long time. We're E7s, which is Sergeant First Classes, and we're also recruiters. And being the good recruiters that we are, we make sure that we take a lot of care, good care of our recruits to make sure that they know all of the benefits that they're going to be getting within coming into the military.
Now, of course, not all of our recruits actually take advantage of this stuff, but the ones who do, and they go through and they set it up and we hold their hand and, coach them on how to get all these things set up the right way, they do very well, right? And it's actually really, really rewarding to see how much better they are financially well off compared to their friends back home, right? That never had any advice doing this kind of stuff, because that's one of the best things as us being recruiters in the National Guard is, our recruits leave for training and then they come home and then we get to see them progress through their career and we get to continue being mentors, and helping them out financially is definitely a part of helping them in their career and in their life.
We get to watch them grow. So, you might be sitting there thinking, Sarge, what the hell is a TSP? Like we said before, the TSP is going to be the Thrift Savings Plan. This is something that you can take with you after you get out of the service, even if you don't do your full 20 years of service. Okay? So, how do you log into your TSP? To get into your TSP, you're going to need either your CAT card or your username and password, and you're going to have to go to MyPay and log in to your TSP through there. Once you get into MyPay, you're going to want to click on the TSP Thrift Savings Plan option, typically on the bottom left column of your options menu in your MyPay account. In there, you're going to be able to pick how much money you want to go from your pay to the traditional TSP or the Roth TSP. So he's going to tell you guys about what the difference is between the two. So,
all right, so when you make traditional contributions into your TSP, that means the money is coming out before you pay taxes on it, right? So it's going to grow faster because there's no taxes paid on that money. But one day when you go to retire, you're going to have to pay taxes on all that money you gained on your TSP. Right now with the Roth, your contributions are going to come out after your income has already been taxed, right? But you're paying taxes on it now. You won't pay taxes on it later when you go to pull that money out at retirement. Can't tell you which one's better, right? Because we're not financial advisors, but later on we're going to tell you what we do, and we've done quite well.
So while you're in MyPay, you're going to want to make sure that all your information is up to date. Additionally, when you're in MyPay, the only things that you can update in the TSP is how much of your money you're putting into either the Roth or the traditional TSP, okay? You actually have to go to the TSP website to change anything else and to update the information. Just because you updated your birth date in the MyPay doesn't mean it's going to update in the TSP website. For whatever reason, the government has a real big issue with having their systems talk to each other, and the longer you're in, any sort of government work, you'll figure that out.
So just updating that part, that's the easy part. And unfortunately, that's where most people stop. That's what I did. And actually, that's what most people do until somebody comes along and tells them better, right? How to actually do it the right way. So I had contributions going into my TSP for, a year or two. And then somebody finally came along, they're like, oh, you have to go into the tsp.gov website and adjust where you want that money to go. How long do you do it?
Oh man, like 10 years.
Yeah.
I didn't know. I was like, oh man, I'm doing the right thing. I got money going into my TSP. Like, I'm being awesome. But There's so much more than that. I didn't know.
I mean, literally, I'm still butthurt over it. It's a sore subject because for a couple years or 10 years or however long, we made that mistake. That money was going into the G fund, and we'll talk about what that means later, but we were only growing at like 0.5% for, a year or two or 10 years. And almost everybody I talked to in the military at some point did exactly what we're doing. And that's why we made this video, so that you're not going to make that same mistake. TSP website is the most important part of this whole thing.
Yep. Okay, so how do I access my TSP.gov account? Well, I'm going to have to go to the website, okay, after you set this up in MyPay. And then the TSP people are going to mail you a password to get into your account. This is typically going to take about 30 days, and it's going to look like junk mail when you get it. So don't throw it away. And make sure your address is correct, okay? Super important. If they mail it to the wrong address and you didn't update it, then they're going to have to mail you another one. It's going to take another 30 days. Just missing out on time.
It really looks like junk mail. And once again, nobody told me it was going to look like junk mail. So when it came, I didn't even know what it was, and I threw it away, right? Or I shredded it, or whatever it was I did with it. And then finally hit them up like a month and a half later. I'm like, hey, never got my sign-in information to log in. They're like, oh, well, we sent it on this date. So here, we're going to send you another one. So a month later, it finally came. So just be aware. It literally looks like junk mail. Don't throw it away.
Mm-hmm. I mean, once you actually have access to your TSP account, you'll be able to set up like security questions and all that. So if you forget your password or if it expires, then you can answer your security questions and get back in. But when you're first setting it up, that piece of mail, man.
And it feels like it takes forever. Okay, so a solid place to start when you're trying to find out more information about investing on the TSP website is under the planning and tools section. It's going to give you great information when you're just starting to learn about investing. And then on top of that, it's also going to have some questions that you can answer for yourself, whether you're more of a conservative investor or more of a risky investor. Those are really good things to know when you're looking at different funds you're going to go into. Now, there's a lot of different things, and it can be pretty complicated when you're looking at different funds. There's Lifecycle funds, which are a combination of all the different types of individual funds. So you've got the G, the F, the S, the C, and the I. Those are all different kinds of individual funds that invest in different things. And we're going to cover what those are, because if you don't know what they are, it can be super confusing, and then you don't even know where your money's going.
Yeah. The G fund and the F fund are debt securities, all right? These are pretty much bonds that are going to be from the government or a corporation that you buy, and then when they expire or reach their limit, you're going to get paid back that amount of money you bought it for plus interest, okay? Then the C, the S, and the I fund, those are equity securities. It's a fancy word for saying it's a stock. You're invested in a stock, which is going to go off of the stock market. So it's going to go like this. Mm-hmm. Okay.
All right. So the first one is the G fund. That's the Government Securities Investment Fund. Now, basically, you're loaning money to the government, and they're promising to repay it back with interest. Now, it's not very good because that interest barely outpaces inflation, if it does outpace inflation. And the crappy thing is, if you don't do step 2 and go to tsp.gov and reallocate your funds, 100% of your money from when you went on MyPay and signed up for a TSP, right, for contributions, 100% of your money goes in the G fund, and the G fund sucks. That's where my money went for the first, year or two that I was doing this, and it got 0.5% of growth.
That's where my money went for 10 years. That's not my fault. I didn't know. I mean, it's pretty much like a savings account that pays you a little bit more money than what a savings account does. I mean, cool, I saved money, but it could have been growing for those 10 years instead of just kind of hanging out there.
Mm-hmm. After I changed my money out of the G fund, and we'll talk about that in a little bit, the lowest I've had is a 14% growth annually.
Crazy.
The highest is 29%.
Which is good.
Real good.
Yeah.
So, but G fund sucks.
Yeah. That's where you want to put your money, like when you're getting close to retirement and you don't want like to lose your money if the stock market dumps or something like that. But when you're just starting out, not the fun for you, bud. Okay. Next fund, F fund. Okay. This is going to be the Fixed Income Index Investment Fund. Okay, this is where corporate and non-corporate bonds are going to be sold. You know, like when your city or your local government needs money to help build a school, they can sell bonds. And then just like the regular government, they're going to pay that bond back with interest.
The next one is the C fund, and that is the Common Stock Index Investment Fund. Now, this is going to be based off of the S&P 500, which is the top 500 most successful companies in America. And they make up 80% of the stock market value. We're talking like Amazon, Apple, Ford, Microsoft, massive companies like that.
Mm-hmm. After that, we got the S fund. This is going to be the small cap stock. Okay, this is going to be the small companies, businesses that are in the U.S. that are not part of the S&P 500. These people are going to make up 20% of the stock market value.
Okay, so the last one is going to be the I fund, and that is the International Stock Index Investment Fund. And what you really need to know is it's just made up of 21 different large international companies, and that's what it's going to be based off of, is that growth.
Mm-hmm. Lastly, we're going to talk about Lifecycle funds. You can buy these individually and manage them yourself, or you could buy a mix of them and have them kind of grow on their own. I don't have any of these. You have any of these?
No, I don't touch Lifecycle funds.
Yeah. You know, but that's just us. Again, we're not financial advisors. We can't legally give you any sort of investment advice because we're not licensed to do it. So, you know, we're just talking about our experiences. But speaking of our experiences, we don't use the G or the F fund. Okay, I've been in for 14 years. You've been in
17.
So, you know, I just started actually getting to learn this stuff about 4 or 5 years ago. All my money is in the C, the S, and the I. And I think that's where all your money is too, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Over the last 3 years, we haven't gotten below 27%.
Oh, yeah.
Which is amazing. Mm-hmm. Currently, just checked it this morning, 30.68% is what my growth is for the last 12 months.
Which is freaking wild.
Awesome.
Anything over 10% is real good. So 30%, yeah, I had 28.5% last year. So
mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, so just remember, this is your money growing over time. So you're investing your money into an IRA, and it's growing based off of the stock market.
Hopefully, this video helped you figure out the initial steps of setting up your TSP, and you don't make the same mistakes that we did, and a lot of other people, of letting it just go to your G fund, which is a horrible thing to do. So keep learning, find out as much as you can about investing, because it's just going to help you out that much more in your future. And especially when you're young, time is on your side, and just lets money magnify that much more and keep growing the earlier you start.
Mm-hmm. So it doesn't matter which branch of the service you're in. I mean, you could be active duty, you could be reserves, you could be National Guard. Wherever you're at, all you got to do is ask, you know, your financial office or somebody where you can get more information about this, because they hold classes. I mean, you can go to militaryonesource.com. All these places are going to offer you guys more information about this program. And not knowing what question to ask is like 90% of the problem. So you just got to ask. Don't wait for it to come to you. You know, get out there and figure out that information on your own.
I know in the National Guard, we have financial planners that you can meet with for free, mm-hmm. right? That the National Guard pays for, and they'll break down all this stuff, and that's how I started learning.
Yeah. I mean, they'll pull out the crayons and the coloring books, and they'll be like, yo, check it out. And I'm like, yes, dude. That's what I needed. So, ask. All right?
Yeah, right. You're over there eating the crayons in the background.
Love crayons. If you like this video, hit that like button, and don't forget to subscribe. Also, hit that little bell thingy, you know, so you get our little notifications when we put out some new content. And then in the comments below, let us know if you're going to set up a TSP account or not.
And share this video with your friends, because they probably need it too if they're in the military.